Hi, my name is Singh, and I'm broadcasting on behalf of Stanford Online High School students from around the globe. So, hello world. With us here today is Miss Minister Linde. She's the Swedish Minister for the European Union Affairs and Trade. It's such a pleasure having you on the show here today. We thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, and having the opportunity to reach out to young people feels especially nice for me.
So, speaking of young people, our audience, mostly high schoolers who don't know what your job is mainly entails, what's the general purpose, or what do you aim towards on a daily basis or even long term?
Well, I have two portfolios. One is trade, and Sweden is a rather small country, 10 million inhabitants, and we are very dependent on trade. So what I try to do is to promote export of Swedish goods and services to other countries, and also try to get free trade agreements between inside the EU to get agreements with other parts of the world. And when it comes to my other part of the portfolio, it's about the European Union. And right now there is a big discussion on what the future of the EU should bring. What are the most important issues? And what I try to do is to say that we have both big issues that the EU should solve, like the climate, environmental issues, jobs, growth, but also issues that is very important for the individual person, like taking away roaming costs if you are using your iPhone or telephone in EU. You shouldn't be paying a big price. Or what we call portability, and that means that if you have, for example, HBO or Netflix, and you buy it in Sweden, if you then go to Barcelona or Paris, then you cannot follow your favorite series because it's blocked. And that is also things that I think it's important that we work on to make a better everyday life for ordinary people.
And these ideas are so forward-thinking and progressive. How do you accomplish this? What does your day look like on a daily basis? Just curious.
Well, actually, here is no ordinary day. Just before I came to speak to you, we had a meeting because I'm planning to go to Vietnam and Indonesia. And also there are already plans to go to Peru, to Washington, to Mexico, to Nigeria, to Angola. And each of those trips and days are, of course, very, very different. So being a minister with my portfolio means that I don't have an ordinary day.
So you must travel a lot. What's your favorite part of or favorite part of your job? Is it the traveling, or is it meeting new people, or creating ideas that impact millions of people's lives?
It's actually to try to do and try to make a difference. I mean, that I have been working in youth organizations, school student organization, political party, National Youth Council. I've always tried to work with things that makes a difference, that change the world, that change the conditions that people live in. And I continue with that as a minister. And that is my driving force, really.
You know, you certainly have a lot of items on your plate. What's your tip for managing, all the different activities or jobs you do, especially since, our audience is high schoolers and they have to learn to manage their time accordingly too?
I think that you have to be able to focus, meaning that what you are doing, you have to concentrate on. When you do something, you cannot concentrate on what you did just before or what you're going to do next. You have to have a separate time when you think about what is coming, or if you are going to say this was good and this was bad in what I've just done. But when you are doing a thing, you have to concentrate and focus on that. Otherwise, you will be very stressed out. And then I think also for a high schooler to think of is to the basic things need to be there. Whatever work you're going to do, you have to eat, sleep, and socialize, and spend time with your friends or family, because otherwise you won't be able to do a good job.
So speaking of all doing these many different activities, what in particular takes up the most of your time? Or if you wish you had an easy button, well, in the US there's a store called Staples, and it's part of their marketing campaign. You press it and then it happens automatically. If you could have a magic wand of sorts that would do something that's tedious and instantly solve it, is there anything that comes to mind, or something that takes up a lot of time of your work?
My most time is actually meeting people and to speak with people, either to persuade them to go the same direction as we want. It could be, for example, when I talk with my fellow ministers, and we would like EU to work more with sustainable development and to have issues for a better climate. I have to persuade them, I have to talk with them, I have to discuss with them, but also to listen to people. For example, as Minister of Trade, I work a lot with companies. Today I had a meeting with Google, and then it's important to know what are their challenges, and is there anything we can cooperate on. And we are very keen on having both a good situation for companies and also for consumers, but then you have to speak to them to see what I think would be needed.
So it seems like whatever you do is so important, and it's happening as we learn about it. It's on the cutting edge of things. So I think that's a pretty interesting job to have, especially young people can aspire to be when they grow up. So speaking of young people, how was your high school experience like? Did you have any particular teachers or classes that you remember that still impact you today?
High school was quite quite an experience, because I was a feminist already from a very early age, and I decided that I should choose a high school that was going to be the possibility for get jobs and everything, and I chose a technical high school. And I don't know, or I'm not very interested in technical issues. But I wanted to prove that you don't have to be a mathematical nerd to go a very great education, the technical education. But you could go there as an ordinary young woman, because that education gives a lot of opportunities. So I went there, and it was very boring and very difficult. But I engaged extremely heavily in the school student unions, and we were not so many girls or young women at high school, but we immediately took over the high school magazine, and we started to do activities about equality and so on. And also I remember my teacher in the social science, because most of, you should always do the last year, you should do a kind of exam or something like that. And most of my fellow students, they did how you build the best loudspeaker in the world, or how you do the new car, so that they have a much better technical. But I did on the liberation movement in Zimbabwe, and I guess nobody has done that at the technical high school. So my teacher in social science was very happy that for once there was someone who was interested in social affairs, even if everybody was most interested in technical affairs. And I haven't regret that I went on that school, because it gave me a lot of experiences that I would not have otherwise.
Yeah, and it certainly rings true when you talk about, there weren't many girls here in Silicon Valley, or just in general in the US, are talking about we need to get people of more minorities or more women into STEM fields, or technology or coding. So are there any programs Sweden or as a country as a whole is working on, or in general, are there other programs that you're excited about that you're working on right now?
Well, I mean, we try to promote students to go to these kind of programs as you're speaking about, because the future, the jobs are in those sectors. So the more we can inspire people to go there, the better it is. And then maybe it's even better if you go there for other reasons than to prove that you you can because you are a woman. But I think that there needs to be more outreach to young people to get them interested in those kind of education that actually will give a job afterwards, because there are many high school students who choose to go with programs that leads only to unemployment, and that is in the long run of course not good.
Certainly. So is looking back, if you could spend 10 extra hours a week as a high schooler doing a particular activity or anything, does something come to mind? Or if you had extra time, would you have done something different?
The only thing that I regret is that I didn't learn a language more, because at the technical high school you only have 2 languages. I had English and German, but in other high school program you could have a 3rd language, and instead, as an extra curriculum, I chose biology, and I have always regretted that I didn't learn French properly in school, because then I've tried the rest of my life to learn French, and it's very difficult if you don't have, you know, the basic way they are teaching languages in high school, and you really never catch up. I even worked in Brussels, and I thought I was good at French language, and I was actually not.
It's interesting that schools in Sweden, typical high schoolers learn or are proficient in 3 different languages. Here in the US, it's, you know, everything's in English and then 1 foreign language like Spanish or whatever. And in some states, they're trying to remove that or give the option, instead of learning a foreign language, to take a computer science language like Java or whatever. What's your opinion? Do you think that, you know, because you obviously are in this sector, do you think learning a language has helped you? And do you?
I think that being able to speak other languages are essential. Of course, if you have English as your mother tongue, you have one language for free, so to speak, because so many people speak languages. On the other hand, if you know another language really well, like in the US, if you know Spanish or French or any other language, that will give you so many more business opportunities, for example, when you go out. So I really would like to promote learning languages.
Yeah, and I guess it's really important in Europe, especially because, you know, countries, they work so much together, as you can see in your job. Yeah. So it's a, you know, great advice for high schoolers. Now, you know, wrapping up our high school section, is there a certain message you have for high schoolers that, you know, if there's something that they could take away from this interview, what would it be?
I would say that after high school, you should really, really try to do something that you like, that you feel in your heart that this is what I really like, because you will do the best job you can if you like it, if you feel like this is something that I really like. I would like to go to work every day and do it. I would do programming, I would do or computing, or I would work in an NGO, or I would work in something that has to do with climate, and try to find what is it that is most important to me. If you can find that and combine it with your work, you will get the best result.
Great advice. So moving on to the fun segment of our interview, if you could spend a day with any person in the world, either present or in the past, who would it be?
It would be, I would say, from the culture, Joni Mitchell. She's my favorite singer. I don't know if high schoolers know her anymore, but she's one of the great American singer-songwriter. That would be great. From the political side, I would say Nelson Mandela or Eleanor Roosevelt.
Yeah, we've had quite a few people choose Nelson Mandela as their guest. So if you could witness any event in history, or, you know, be a part of it, which would it be?
It would be very, very interesting to be part of the struggle for voting rights for women. and like Emmeline Pankhurst, who worked for it, and also in different countries in different years. Those women that were so brave and they were so harassed, and they really, really made a difference in the world when finally the possibility to vote came for women. And I would have been part of that struggle because it was so important.
So let's move on to our this or that segment. So we'll give you two options, or you just answer it in a brief as you can. Yeah. Would you rather have one wish granted today or 3 in 10 years?
1 today.
Would you rather be able to stop time or fly?
Fly.
Online shopping or shopping in a store?
Both.
Would you rather be able to read everyone's mind all the time or know their future?
Know their future.
If you could trade lives with one person for an entire day, who would it be?
Angela Merkel.
Okay.
German chancellor, the most powerful woman in the world.
Yeah.
So far, when Hillary becomes president, yes, she will be powerful.
Yes. If you could be the CEO of any company in the world, what would it be?
The most wealthiest company, so I can use the money for important things.
Okay, I think at this time it's right now it's Apple.
Okay, but then I have to pay a lot of taxes because
yes, just make sure you pay your taxes if you're Apple. What's the best professional advice you've been given?
It is to try to find something that you burn for, that you are really, really interested in, because then you do the best job.
And a great note to end on. So this brings us to the end of Pixel Talk. We'd like to thank Minister Linde for graciously sparing her time here and inspiring not only the Stanford OHS community, but youth around the country and perhaps around the world. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.